All right. What's up, everyone? Welcome to this week's live interview in the Grow Your Midterm Rental Business group. Each week, I'm interviewing midterm rental hosts from across the country to talk about everything to do with midterm rentals, rental arbitrage, co-hosting, and just real estate in general. We already have some really great guests lined up for the next upcoming weeks, and we are especially blessed to have an awesome guest lined up for today. Today, we have Jaina Pallasuigi. Jaina is a real estate investor. She owns a remote co-hosting company called Premier Host Management, and she's also a business funding advisor with Freedom Funders. Her true passion is teaching people how to use real estate for nearly free travel. Since 2022, she has redeemed over $60,000 in travel using her real estate portfolio and business expenses to earn millions of points to travel the world for next to no cost. Jaina, thanks so much for hopping on the call. I'm really looking forward to getting to speak with you today.
Me as well. Thank you so much for having me, Christian. Really excited for this chat.
No, that's amazing. So before we jump into things, Jaina, I'd love to hear kind of your background and your story to how you've gotten to where you are today. Kind of what has gotten you to this, Freedom Funders and also to your co-hosting management company. Just give us a little bit of your background.
Sure thing. So I like to start off with is I still work full-time W-2. I'm a public health professional based
You do
in
everything.
right. Yeah, so a lot of people don't realize that. So I'm based in Orange County, California, and I essentially manage the quit smoking program here. And I grew up, listening to the boomer story of, go to university, get your master's, get a job, and that's exactly the prescription I followed. Then around 2021, one of my friends who's younger than me said, "Hey, Jaina, I bought a house." And I was like, "What? Where?" Because we live in Orange County. If you guys are familiar with this area, it is so expensive. So I was like, "How did you do that?" He's like, "No, it was $38,000. I'm like, "No way." And that's when I realized that it's possible to invest out of state. So I have long-term rentals in Evansville, Indiana. I essentially copied and pasted everything he did because why reinvent the wheel, right? And that's where I have a portfolio of 5 single family homes and 1 quadplex. And those are all long-term rentals. But
Okay.
yeah, but at the same time, Paul was like, I really want to get into Airbnb. And I'm like, me too. What were you thinking? So originally we tried doing arbitrage, right? Because everyone's okay, do it in your backyard. But California, especially this county, is very restrictive. They actually just banned short-term rentals in Santa Ana, which was one of like the last cities you were able to do that. So we were having a really hard time, like pitching property owners, trying to do this arbitrage method. And we started taking a bunch of courses, right? We were just like course fanatics because we started, with like business funding courses, and then points and miles courses, and then Airbnb co-hosting courses. And that's when we learned about the co-hosting strategy. So, fast forward to 2022, Paul and I, we become business partners and we're trying to get our first clients. And, it just wasn't working out in Orange County. But we were in a bunch of Facebook groups, as people are here as well. It's really good to network online to really build, your relationships. And one day someone posted in a chat and they said, "Does anyone here do co-hosting?" And right away my business partner was like, "We do." Right. So that was how we got our first client. It was in Benton Harbor, Michigan. Never heard of that place ever in my life.
Nope.
And it was, if I had done the market research in that area, I would have been afraid, but I'm glad I didn't because it has high crime rate. The house was super old. It's not in a very good area. And the furniture was like grandma's house. It was just like anything you could pick off the side of the road. But guess what? Grandma's house got booked as an MTR. It had over 90% occupancy because there was no competition and the house was larger. So we were essentially the main provider of any contract agencies, specifically, contractors, right? Construction workers and a lot of like housing claims because there was no other homes in that area. So that really opened our eyes to being like, wow, this strategy is amazing. So come now today, trying to wrap up the story, we now, co-host remotely, specifically in San Diego, California, Montgomery, Alabama, Cleveland/Euclid, Ohio, and Houston, Texas. That original place, Benton Harbor, unfortunately, piping issue, so the owner had to sell it. But it wasn't because of all the revenue he was getting. Of course, it was just like an extremely complicated, very expensive piping issue that they had. So that's where we are today.
Wow, no, that's amazing. So you're managing five, and you're in five different markets doing
Mhm.
co. That's
Exactly.
incredible. So what have you found doing? Because I'm all in one market, and I live local to the area where I do arbitrage and co-hosting. Like, what have you found? Um, I don't know. What have been some of the pros and some of the cons as like being in so many different markets at one time?
Good question. So the reason why we got into so many markets is because we were first starting out. So we were just taking any clients, no matter the location. But we did know how to build systems and teams, boots on the ground remotely, that we could do that. So the obvious con is it takes a little bit of time to ramp up, right? Make sure you're vetting your team. Even though we've been co-hosting in San Diego for nearly like half a year now, we're still like trying to find the right cleaners, right? So the con is definitely taking a little bit longer to just set up. So that does delay you starting to make, money on day one. But also because we're working in different markets, what we've noticed is vendors in different markets operate differently. What we found in like Montgomery, maybe the smaller markets, at least the people that we work with, they don't have too much urgency. You know what I mean? So you get a lot of delays, but you have to find a balance because obviously, if you want work to be done faster, you have to pay more. But then you're also, as a co host, working with the owner, and maybe that's not in their budget. So it's a really, interesting play of balancing, costs and expenses. So those are the cons. The benefits is that it's possible. First of all, a lot of people don't realize like, hey, you could do this. And because maybe you're in a market like me where it's maybe you didn't have good luck or the opportunity to co-host. I'm not saying Orange County isn't good. Like, there are people killing it in this market. It just didn't work out for us. But the pros are you're able to get such a vast array of experience working in different markets that you feel like you could face anything. Like being in Southern California, I was like, I didn't know pipes could freeze. Legit. Until the first time they're like, our pipes are frozen. I was like, pipes freeze? That doesn't even cross my mind. You know what I mean? So I don't know if the Orange County people here know that, but you know what I mean? It's just, you learn so many things. Like, oh, you have to get like a snow shoveler. Those things, like, you're just getting so much experience, and it's so incredibly diverse of the different issues that you encounter, that like our weapons and our tools and our shield as a co-host just becomes stronger and stronger because you're facing all these issues that typically co-hosts do not encounter. So I think that's the huge pro. And so when anyone asks me, it's not just someone in a market, like anyone, are like, hey, have you encountered that? I'm like, actually, I have. And this is what you could do. And this is how you could handle it remotely from your home. So it's pretty wild.
That's so cool. Yeah. So it sounds like you learn a lot real fast.
Mm-hmm.
That's so funny you say that because I'm in Buffalo. We get a ton of snow, and it's funny because I was on the opposite side where like I have a bunch of listings. I do a lot of travel listings, right?
Yeah.
And I have a bunch of listings that are actually walking distance to our major medical downtown medical campus.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, I was like, yeah, it's an obvious benefit because it's walking distance, so it's easy for the travel nurses. But another benefit that I didn't even think of, being that I'm from Buffalo and I've driven in snow my whole life, there's so many people that come to work in Buffalo or whatever, and they've never even driven in snow, so they don't have a car. So being walking distance for them was like I didn't realize how vital it was for them to be in close walking distance or to have that public transportation, because even though they might have a car, or if they did have they can't bring a car. They don't know how to drive in the snow. So that was
Exactly.
something that worked in, that I never occurred to me, like, oh yeah, like people don't know how to drive in the snow.
Not even that. People in SoCal, we don't know how to drive in rain too. Honestly, it's so bad.
Well, that's, yeah. I mean, sometimes, not everyone in Buffalo knows how to drive in the snow either.
That's right.
Yeah, or has like snow tires, or you know,
The right car.
no,
So
yeah, snow brush. Like for me, it's so funny. My wife, she's from Africa originally, but she when she came to Buffalo, like she didn't know what a snow brush was. And for me, I'm
yeah.
like, yeah, it's a snow brush. You wipe off your car with the snow brush. You scrape the ice off. It's like natural.
Right? And then to us here, we're like, oh my gosh, you have to, get up a little bit earlier to warm up your car. We just
Yeah,
go,
yeah,
stuff like
yeah.
that.
I know it. I know it. So it's funny. So all the different little things that you're gonna encounter in all the different markets.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's really interesting, right?
Hmm.
Okay, so Jaina, what I'm really interested in learning and hearing from you is about your business funding tactics. I know you're like a business credit card and business funding guru. Um, so I want to hear firstly, I know like you recently just went on a trip to somewhere. I'd like to hear about some of your most recent trip and some of your other trips, and like what have you been able to do because of this like credit card hacking stuff?
Sure. I love it. Let's start off with some value in a real life case study, right? So I just got back from a 7-day trip to Japan and Korea last month. And that entire trip, like 97% of it was funded by points, which I generated from my quadplex and my fifth rental property in Evansville, Indiana. So let's start with the property first. So I'm really lucky to have a really good relationship with local lenders in that area. So they allow me to do a subject to appraisal commercial loan, which essentially allows me to wrap the renovation costs into these properties and allows me to put that into the loan. So I don't have to put anything down, right? I just have to pay the mortgage as it's being renovated, which is manageable, right? Because it's not a down payment. Not only that, you only pay the interest part. You don't even pay like the full mortgage. So
Wow.
nice creative kind of strategy. And I remember I think the lender saying like, okay, we're going to give you this check of like, it was like $15,000 so that you could pay your contractors, right? And I've actually experienced this before with a previous property. So what I do is like, okay, I'm not just going to take this check, put it in my bank, and then use it to pay my contractors, because I'm also in the points and miles field and travel hacking. What I did was like, I am going to open credit cards, specifically business credit cards that have really good limited sign up bonuses, and then essentially charge my contractors the credit cards and then just use the loan payment to pay off the credit cards. So in that time, I was able to collect, gosh, because since it was a quadplex and a single family home, I really racked up like over 400,000 points. And again, that's not even with my own money. That's money from commercial loans. So other people's money are giving me these points and miles because I know how to open credit cards appropriately. I know which credit cards to get. So I racked up all these miles, and this is how I redeemed them. What I did was I took premium economy on Singapore Airlines. If you're familiar with the airlines, it's like one of the top 5, if not the top 3 airlines in the US. I took premium economy. That flight was over $2,000 if you paid cash. I paid like $97 to upgrade just to the exit row. And so I only paid like $120 for that flight. Then we did 3 nights in Grand Hyatt in Seoul in Korea, and that was over $1,500. And we did 3 nights in Tokyo Andaz, and that was like over $4,000, 5-star luxury hotel that I was able to transfer my Chase points to Hyatt to book those 6 nights, and there's no taxes or fees, so it's free, like completely free. Coming back to LA, then I took business class on Singapore Airlines because I knew I was going to be tired. I was like, I need to sleep. So I needed that lay flat seat to just sleep because I was so tired. And that was again like nearly $3,000. I only paid like $50 in taxes and fees. So you can imagine an over $10,000 luxury vacation that is paid for with your real estate expenses you are already going to spend. Like this is your regular business expenses, but because you know how to, leverage them, transfer points, you understand like the step-by-step process, which does have a little bit of a learning curve. Because you're a real estate investor, you actually have the ability to travel for nearly free. So that's what I came back from. Yeah.
That's incredible. So yeah, because I know, and I've dabbled around with doing some of these credit card sign-on bonuses and stuff with my business, particularly like with arbitrage. Basically, before I go to furnish a couple arbitrage apartments, I'll make sure to sign up for a new. Typically, I've been doing Chase Ink like business cards, and then so like because I know I'm furnishing the apartment anyway, so might as well put it on a credit card. I pay off the credit card. Like I have the cash, I just pay off the credit. I just put it on the card first, pay it off in full. I'm not paying any interest or anything, and then you're accruing, up to a couple 100,000 credit card points. And using that, I'm actually going this weekend. I'll be going to Boston, and I booked a nice hotel. That we're going for 4 nights. I booked a nice hotel. I booked flights, booked everything, just using my Chase points. I think we used a total of like maybe just about 100,000 Chase points, and then $2,000 if I would have paid in cash.
Exactly. So it's like a huge game changer for people just to know how to use credit cards as a pass through. And I see a question right here from Levi. Which are the names of the credit cards? So did we want to talk about like best credit cards for MTRs? Shall we go into that?
Yeah, so that was going to be my next question. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, sounds good. So there are different strategies that you could use. The first thing is I want to let people know, people always come to me like, Jaina, what's the best credit card to get? And they expect me to just give them a credit card. And I always come back and I say, who do you bank with? And what are the most recent credit cards that you have? The reason why is because the best credit card for each person depends on their bank relationships, right? So if you have a bank account with Chase, I would tell you do the Chase Ink business credit cards, specifically the ones that are 0% APR, which is the Ink Unlimited and the Ink Cash. I would go first with the Ink Unlimited. The reason why, it's 1.5 points per dollar, unlimited spend, right? So typically what you're spending on is not necessarily going to give you much higher points than that. If you're getting furniture, you're probably going like on Wayfair, Target, Costco, wherever you're getting your furniture from. So being able to get more than 1 point per dollar is going to give you a lot of points, right? People are like, well, why not get the cash card? It's 5 points per dollar. And I was like, okay, are you going to furnish your MTR with staples, like with office supplies? Because that's the 5 point category, right? I mean, maybe you could get a couple things. There are other gift card hacks, but we're going to talk about that another time. But typically it's those ink cards. But if you tell me like, I just have one American Express, and I was like, you are in a great position. The reason why is American Express has a lot of hacks, right? And a lot of people love American Express for business funding. Let me tell you why. So if you have one personal credit card with American Express, any subsequent card that you open after that is only a soft pull on your credit limit. So that means it's not going to affect your credit report, right? And it's not going to lower your credit score. And not only that, one of the biggest hacks with American Express is you could reallocate personal credit limit to business credit limit. That's the only bank that allows you to do that. With Chase, you can reallocate personal or business to business. You can't switch it up, right? So this is what I did. So you can obviously think of an example for midterm rentals, but I used it in my case for an Amazon store. So when I opened up an Amazon store like years ago, I got the Amex Blue Business Plus. So that's another great credit card for real estate because they give you 2 points per dollar on a spend up to $50,000 per year, right? And they just gave me $10,000 in credit limit. And I was like, I need more than that, right? Sometimes our furnishing, I mean, that's actually a pretty good amount for furnishing like one particular property. But if you're doing this at scale, you need more of a credit limit. Right. So I only had 10,000, but I had a personal credit card that had a $50,000 credit limit. So what I did was I moved 49,000 from that credit card that I don't even use, right? I just had it over to my Amex Blue Business Plus. So I hacked $59,000 of 0% APR. What would you do with your MTRs if you had $59,000 for 0% for 12 months? What would you do, Christian? That's a lot of capital. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Wow.
It's huge. So people don't realize like that's a hack, and that is.
I didn't know that. That's huge.
That is huge. So that's very specific with American Express. So if you're asking what's the best credit cards, if you don't have a relationship with Chase or American Express, I would start those now. But I would start with Chase because, banks are, especially Chase, they're like a jealous boyfriend. They don't like you banking with other banks, right? So they're kind of sensitive to seeing you have multiple applications with other credit cards. They have this rule called 524 that's kind of unwritten. But in any case, you'd want to start a relationship with Chase first, and that's either getting a personal credit card or just opening up bank accounts with them. So that way they know you as your customer. So by the time that you're ready to get those ink cards, they're like, oh yeah, I know Christian. He's in real estate. He usually buys a lot from Costco, right? So it's not a shock to see like these big purchases. Because I recently got the built card, which is really good for arbitrage because you could get points, 1 point per dollar with no fee. So a lot of people who do arbitrage get the built card because you could rack up a lot of points, right? So when Built is issued by Wells Fargo. So these were literally my first three transactions on that Built card. It was like $3.50 at In and Out. Then it was like $40 at Target. Then it was like 8,000 for like renovation materials. And then they put fraud, like a fraud warning on it. They flagged it. They're like, whoa, 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 what's this? First of all, it's a round number, 8,000. And they're like, we only know you for 3 transactions. So obviously that looks like fraud. If I
Right.
did that, yeah, if I did that with Chase, I've been banking with Chase for like 15 years, they'd be like, oh yeah, that's Jaina. She loves In and Out and Target and she does those big expenses, right? They wouldn't flag it all because they need to know you as their customer. And that's why it's so essential to build these relationships with banks so you could get the best business approvals and the highest credit limits.
Wow. Okay. Holy smokes. So you said a lot there. So it sounds like for someone who's just starting out, say you're starting your first arbitrage unit, let's say that, right?
Mhm.
Sounds like the best way to start is to start a relationship, probably with Chase,
Mhm.
and then so like open up a bank account with them. And then
Mhm.
how long would you wait between opening up a bank account and opening up a credit, like a business credit card?
Good question. If you open up a business checking account with them, you could actually get the ink card on the spot as long as you
Okay.
do it with the banker, right? Because they essentially will offer it to you because they know that you're opening up a business checking account with them. Just know with Chase, the only thing I don't like is you have to keep $2,000 liquid in there to avoid any fees. So it's kind of like money just in there from
Yeah,
a
it's like a $15 fee. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
Because
So yeah, that's fine. But if you want like the expedited route, go ahead and just open up that checking account and you'd deposit money and then they would allow you to essentially open the credit card because now you're working with a person. The reason why a lot of people get denied for business credit cards is because when they're applying online, there's a lot of places where people mess up, right? And you have to realize that when you submit online, you're working with an algorithm. It's a computer that's denying you because you don't know how to fill it out correctly. But if you go to the bank, you can actually talk to a real person. They can work directly with the underwriters and help justify your case for why you need this business credit card at this particular credit limit. So for me as a business owner, it's always better to go in branch. But for me as a travel hacker, and I know the data points, I will just apply online. It just really depends. It really depends. So yeah, if you're starting out, you could do that with Chase and then get their ink cards because there's 2 of them. But guess what? You could churn those cards. You could get multiple of those ink cards, which I'm sure you know, Christian. But this is the limitation. Chase specifically has a maximum exposure of $150,000, meaning across all your personal and business credit cards, they will give you up to 150,000 typically. So if you find yourself getting a little close to that, you'll notice that each card that you get with them gets a lower credit limit if it's a business credit card. And that's what's happening to me because I have like 130K credit limit with Chase across all my cards, right? So just know that. However, that doesn't mean like you can't get more. Most banks, including Chase, allow you to do a soft pull credit limit increase every 6 months. So if you get that, 0% Chase card, 6 months, you say like, hey, I actually need a little bit more funding to scale my business so that I can, be able to get more revenue. Is it possible to increase my credit limit? Right. And then they will do a soft pull. It won't affect your credit score and see if they could increase that for you. So it's in your best interest to just every 6 months put a little notice for yourself and put like, okay, ask for a softball credit limit increase.
Okay, yeah, that's cool. I probably have some cards. I probably should be asking for. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
wow. So right now, I want to ask you about my specific situation, right?
Yeah,
Because I've dabbled in this a little bit, but I'm not anywhere like as knowledgeable as you in this stuff. Where I'm at right now is I've done a bunch of the Chase credit cards, business credit cards. I've done the both like the Chase Inc. cards. I've
Mhm.
done them all. I only have one LLC that I own, so I've done a bunch of the cards under my LLC, and then I also got duplicates of those same cards also as a sole proprietor, which is
Mhm.
something that if you don't know, you don't necessarily need an LLC or a business entity to open up a business credit card. You can open up a business credit card as a sole proprietor. So I've got probably, I don't know, 7 or 8 credit cards with Chase. And I've done like the Chase Ink ones. I like them because it's like you open it up, you get like whatever it is, $750 bonus after you spend 6,000, all that stuff. It's great. 0% interest, blah blah blah. So now the last time I applied for a credit card with Chase, they actually denied me, and I don't know if it's probably because I'm getting close to the limit, or I don't know what exactly. I don't know, something else, whatever. I applied online and they denied the card. So I'm looking at like, okay, well, where should I go now? I've got a whole bunch of Chase cards. I have the only other business card I have is one business card with Amex. Should I start looking at Amex now that Chase seems like they're not? I don't know if they're going to get any more funding or whatnot. Should I start looking at Amex, or is there somewhere else I should start to look? What do you think?
Yeah, great question. So it sounds like you're a bit overexposed with Chase, as I am, because it comes to a certain limitation, right? You could only get the sign up bonuses so many times, and you've done it all. You've done it under your LLC, you've done it under your own name as sole proprietor, and they see that. So it could be that you had too many hard inquiries in the last 6 months. Banks don't want to see that you have more than 3 hard inquiries per credit bureau. So Experian, Equifax, and TransUnion in the last 6 months, because that makes you look like a risky borrower or you're desperate for credit, right? So what you'd want to do is start moving over to another bank, because it seems like you've maxed out with Chase, right? So I would first of all, I'm curious, do you have any of the Sapphire cards? So
I
Sapphire
don't.
Reserve. I would say it's worth it to get on the Chase side because it seems like you're very strong on business, but I would wait because you might be over the 524 rule. So let me explain what the 524 rule is. Chase has a written rule that if you've applied for more than 5 credit cards, it's mostly personal credit cards. It's mostly personal cards. In the last 24 months, they'll deny you for any card. So it could be possible you're over 524, or you're just overexposed with them, or you've had too many hard pulls, right? So there's different reasons why they deny you. But I will say to people right here, if ever you get denied, that's why there's a reconsideration line. There's a specific department every bank has to listen to your case to see if they want to approve you for a credit card after being denied. So it's always worth it to just put Chase reconsideration line. If it's for business, they have a business and personal line, call them so that you could just talk to a person and be like, hey, I need this card for this reason. Specifically with Chase, I would use this particular script because it's been found to be pretty successful with them. Remember, they're like a jealous boyfriend. So I would say like, I wanted to see if it's possible to reconsider my application. I really needed this credit card for my business funding, and I'd rather continue banking with Chase so I don't have to go to another bank to get credit card. They hate those words, right? They're like, oh, okay, well, let's see what we can do now, right? So take note of that. Again, Chase is very like, just stay with Chase. So just know, any credit card doesn't have to be Chase. Always call the reconsideration line, because again, especially if you applied online, you got denied by a computer, not a human. So when you're finally able to, a human, you could state your case and be like, this is why. And they're like, oh, okay, good to know. All of a sudden you get approved, right?
That's huge. I didn't know to do that. Do you know if there's a timeline in which you have to call
Oh,
the reconsideration line?
it depends per bank, but personally, I feel like do it within a week. The
Yeah.
sooner the better. Like honestly, if you get denied, just call right away.
Right.
Yeah, great question. So I would say go with American Express. Which one do you have?
I think it's the Blue
It's Plus?
Business Cash. Is it
Oh,
Blue?
okay, sure.
It's a free. It's one that didn't have an annual fee.
Gotcha. So that's good. I would actually first go with a personal card that has no annual fee. The reason why is because they want to see that relationship on the personal side. And again, this could help you with that hack, right? So just get that credit card. Um, for when was the last time you applied for that business card with American Express?
Oh, it's been a while. I've had that one for a while. It's been, I mean, well, like probably close to 2 years.
Oh, you're fine. Okay. So, but it's more of like when did you apply for your last card? Typically, I mean, it's not like fully like concrete, but for best practices, you want to keep 90 days in between each card that you open, right? So
Gotcha.
you don't accrue too many hard inquiries. So if it's been like 91 days, it's safe. And I would just do like one of the everyday card or the cash magnet card, but I would actually pick the everyday because that one earns points and it's no annual fee, regular Amex credit card. Also, take this down. Amex has a really great program called Apply with Confidence. So they actually allow you to apply to their credit cards. It's only a soft pull, and they will tell you in that moment if you get approved or not, right?
Oh, that's cool.
So if you don't get approved, there's no hurt to your credit score. But if you do get approved, then you could say, okay, let's go through with the application, and then they really confirm it. So it's called Apply with Confidence. Just put Apply with Confidence Amex, and that's where you want to apply through, so they could tell you if you got in approved or not. So that's nice. And then once you have that personal card, I truly believe, Christian, like the best one for you is the business gold, right? The
Okay.
Amex gold. The reason why it's 4x points on dining, 4x points on gas. So if you're driving to your properties, just imagine getting 4 points per dollar on that. And then it's basically 4x every statement of your top categories. And the categories are dining, gas, transit. So like Uber, Lyft, toll roads, anything like that. Ads, if you have ads. Like this is really good for people who do like wholesaling or just have like a lot of ad budget. Do like people put it through the Amex Business Gold because it gets 4 points. It also has it on shipping. So if anyone does a lot of shipping, maybe e-commerce or something like that, that's a great card. But for real estate, if you're trying to like, you're in that next tier where you're like, okay, let me start earning more points, right? Let me start leveling up my travel hacking. The gold is really good for real estate. Business gold, the personal gold, I have both. I love
Okay.
it. The personal gold is excellent because it's groceries and dining. Those are like my major spend categories. So I'm
Right.
right points just my normal spend. But if we're talking for real estate and business, and the thing that you want to know is the gold, platinum, and green cards with American Express, they're called charge cards. So they're different from credit cards. Credit cards have a credit limit. Charge cards have spending power. So you could check on the Amex app and it will actually show you like, oh, check my spending power. Just put something like 30K, something high, 30K, and it would say like, yeah, you could spend 30K like in a month. Right. So that's the powerful thing about charge cards. If you have huge expenses and maybe you only have credit cards that have maybe 10, 15, 20 credit limit, the charge cards is where that really comes into play, where you could put huge expenses on that. And
Wow.
the reason why I tell you to get the gold is because that is the card that is the most functional. It's your workhorse card where you're going to earn points so that you can travel. Okay. People are like, go for platinum right away. I'm like, no, stop. The reason why you don't want to go for Amex Platinum right away is because there's been a new rule in the past year where Amex disqualifies you for getting the sign up bonus on the gold and the green card if you go with the platinum right away.
Oh, wow.
Right. So you technically, if you're really trying to maximize it, you want to start with the green, then get the gold again, then get the platinum. But the green, I feel like you could get benefits from other cards. I feel like it's a little bit overlapping, especially if you have some with Chase. So I would say gold, you don't need to get the green because they all have annual fees. They all have annual fees. And then when you're ready, or say like, hey, I want to go on my anniversary trip with my wife and I want it to be nice, luxurious, get the platinum card. And you go like, and then you could be like, babe, where do you want to go in the world? Let's go get the platinum card because that can get the business platinum card can get you. I've seen people get like targeted offers of 200,000 points. Yeah.
Wow.
And it's
Just for signing up.
yeah, and
Yeah.
meeting the sign up minimum spend, which is I think for the platinum is maybe 10 or 15,000
Yeah.
within 4 to 6 months. But if you have like large expenses coming up for your midterm
Right.
rental, you could put it on there. You know what I mean? So I would say for you, get the gold. That would be like, I mean, the first move would be like the regular credit
Start with
card,
the
then
personal.
the gold. And then remember, after that, you could just do what you want with Amex because it's going to be a soft pull. I would still, not open it too much, but
Right.
um, just 90 days is nice and like reasonable for real estate investors.
Yeah, up to this point, I've mostly tried to avoid signing up for cards with annual fees because I'm always concerned I'm gonna like, I don't know, I'm just not sure if I'm gonna get the same amount of value or more value out of the card than I'm gonna spend on the annual
I
fee.
love
So
it. Okay, let's talk about this because this is a common question. Okay, so the first part is I'm not a CPA. Talk to your CPA. Since it's a business card, you could deduct the annual fee. So talk to your CPA. That's the first thing.
mhm,
The second thing is the reason why people are afraid of not getting value from an annual fee card is because they think that they're paying to have a card. So why should I pay to have a credit card when there's a bunch of credit cards that I don't have to pay for? So that's one. The second part is, this is how I like to explain it. Having a credit card with an annual fee, especially if it's higher, like Amex cards, is like having a gym membership. Say you have a gym membership because you want to get fit, right? You show up to the gym and you're like, wow, I don't know how to use any of this equipment. I don't know what these classes are. I don't know how to talk to a nutritionist. So you feel like you're not getting value because there's no understanding or knowledge of how to use the benefits, how to use the equipment. So what you do is you get a trainer. And then the trainer's like, hey, this is going to be your, your meal plan. This is the equipment we're going to use on this day. This is how we're going to use it. You're going to sign up for this classes. And then all of a sudden you get ripped because someone told you this is how you use the gym. Right. And then you meet your goals. Similarly, there's not really like like a trainer for, points and miles, but there's a lot of creators that show people what to do. So that's where the gap is. People don't know that you need to spend your card for on these particular purchases. People don't know that you need to enroll in like gold and elite status with Marriott and Hilton. People don't know that you have to pick with a platinum card, your airline, in order to get the airline fee credit. It's because they don't have anyone teaching them how to do it. So what they do is they go in the travel portal, they redeem their points for really low value, and they're like, that's all I get. When in actuality, the platinum card, yes, it's $695 annual fee, but if you really maximize all those benefits, especially the business card, you could get over $1,000. So with the business credit card, the reason why I like it better is you get a $400 credit to Dell. That is very useful for business, for business owners like you. Maybe you could get a better camera setup for these podcasts and these lives. You could get a legit mic with $400 from Dell. Then
Right.
you get an airline fee credit of $200. So you could use that to pay for like your checked bags, right? So you don't have to pay for that, or to buy food on the plane. Or there are actually hacks where you could use those fee credits to get flights. And then you get like $200 with like Uber, you know what I mean, which you could use to take to the airport. There's so many things. As you can see, it really adds up. Just people don't know how to use it. That's what it is. Mhm.
Wow. I mean, I guess one of my concerns is with staying organized, like with all that stuff. Like, do you have like some sort of spreadsheet or something, or some sort of system where you keep all this like
Right.
organized, or how do you know how, like, when to use what cards at what time?
Yeah, I think in the beginning, people have found to use Excel, or even like Google Sheets to kind of be organized. But personally, because I do this stuff every day, I have it memorized. So let
Right.
me, like, for example, I actually hung out with like a points and miles friend. We went to a Dodger game, and both of us knew exactly what card to use in what situation. So we parked in LA. So I used my business gold card to get 4 points per dollar on that parking meter. Then we went to go get Prince Street Pizza, maybe because that's in New York, but we have a branch in LA. I use my Amex Gold to get 4 points per dollar. And then everything that we bought in the stadiums don't actually code as like dining, even if you go in an eatery. We use a credit card that gets 2 points per dollar on every purchase. So for me, it was the Amex Blue Business Plus. For her, it was the Capital One Venture X. So it is a kind of complicated in the beginning, but I'm not always using all these cards at once, right? People are like, you have how many cards? I was like, I probably have 15 or 20 cards. But at one time, I'm really only carrying like maybe 4 to 5, because those are the ones that I actually use.
Right.
So you kind of just get in the hang of it. You're like, I know this is for gas. I know this is for groceries. But I've also seen people who, like, for their husband, so like the woman is the points and miles person, they'll literally put a label on the card. They're like, use this card for groceries, use this
That's
card
awesome.
for gas.
I would need that. I think I would need little labels. I actually I had lunch with a buddy a while back, and he had little labels on his cards.
Yeah. So
Yes,
hey,
it
works
is.
too. That works.
I think that's a good way to do it,
Mhm,
just to put little labels.
mhm.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. So I feel like I've learned a lot. Um, okay. Well, we're gonna stop right there.
Okay.
Guys, we're at 1:40 p.m. If you have any questions, please put them into the chat. If you have questions about your specific situation, or you want to ask about co-hosting, credit card points, I mean, we just, like, wow, my mind is kind of blown right now. So if you have any questions, please go ahead. Feel free to put them in the chat. While you guys are putting your questions in the chat, I do want to let you know that if you want to learn more about growing or starting your midterm rental business, whether it's through owning property or with rental arbitrage or co-hosting, I do have a super affordable coaching program. It's currently only $149 a month. And in this program, we do live Q&A calls every week where you can ask me directly questions specific to your business. And you also get access to over 80 video modules about how to grow your midterm rental business. My assistant will drop the link in the comments right now so that you can learn more about the program. And you can also schedule a free 15-minute call with me to see if the program is a good fit for you.
Awesome. Highly, highly recommend Christian. I was so blessed to meet him at the MTR Summit. He's doing big things, always providing value. Would love for more people to get in that program because you're excellent, Christian. You're always like, look at this. This is like people can get this access and understand how to leverage business funding for their MTRs. Shall we talk about like a case study? Because I feel like maybe if I put it in a case study, people can really understand. Okay.
Yeah,
So,
thank you so much.
of course. So say, for example, you get your first midterm rental, whether it's arbitrage or you're owning it. A lot of the times people are like, oh, I don't have much more capital to furnish it. But this is why 0% APR business credit cards are so powerful because it gives you the capital you need to not only furnish a rental, but to make it competitive in your market because you have access to even more funds. So let's just say, for example, you built a relationship with Chase, you got the Inc. Business Unlimited card, and they gave you like 15,000, dollars in funding, right? That's a credit limit. So you would essentially take all of that money if you really wanted to and furnish your property. You could have a game room, you can make it really nice and have like maybe more luxurious, fixtures so that you could attract like higher paying or premium clients, right? That gives you that power to do that because you have more capital. And then the awesome part is because it's a business credit card, it does not report your utilization rate to your personal credit. So you could max out 100% of that business credit card and just pay the minimum payment over that 12-month period, right? And then it not dink down your personal credit score, right? However, take note, Capital One, Discover, and TD Bank, those business credit cards report to your personal. You do not want to use this particular strategy with Discover, Capital One, or TD Bank. Those will mess up your credit scores. Chase, American Express, you're safe. Those are the best ones for business funding and travel hacking. So once you set up your property, obviously, hopefully you're getting better bookings because you have a better designed house. You don't have to use it for furnishings also. If you have like a handyman that needs to fix, whatever that fell off, or plumber that needs to fix a leak, that's what's so powerful. You have this funding. Then over the 12-month period, you can use that revenue to pay it off, right? The furnishing. So essentially you could break even at that 12-month part, or even if you did your numbers really good, sooner than that. So then it's profit after that, and you've leveraged other people's money. And again, you don't need an LLC to do this. You could open up a business credit card using your social security number as the EIN and sole proprietor as the entity structure. So you could absolutely do, especially when you're first starting out, you can do that. You just need to build the relationships with the correct banks. But then say, for example, Jaina, I didn't do my numbers right. I didn't get the occupancy I needed, and I can't pay it off in 12 months. Here are a couple exit strategies. Okay, I got you. So around the 11th month, maybe even the 10th month of the 0% APR, you're like, I'm not going to be able to pay this off, right? You want to call the number on the back, right? And say like, hi, I wanted to talk to someone who can help me extend the 0% APR on this credit card. I found that I need to have a little bit more time for my business to scale and be able to pay it fully off in just a few months. Can you help me extend it? A lot of the times they will extend it. I've had clients extend it to 3 more months, right?
Wow.
So in having 3 more months of 0%, to be able to pay it off. So then you're like, okay, let's re-strategize and pay it off. That's one exit strategy, but you need to be sure that you're using that script. If you're saying like, I need it for payroll, you always want to show the person on the other side that you're using the funds to grow your business, because that means more money for that essentially. But if you're using it for like, I don't know, just something that won't grow like payroll, then they're kind of,
Right.
know that. And then there's this term in points and malls called hang up, call again. It's literally HUCA. If for some reason that first person says we can't do it, but they didn't say we'll send you a letter, why? Hang up, call again. Sometimes it just depends on the representative. Maybe they're not having a good day and they just don't want to help you because they're lazy.
Right.
Yeah. So just try. You always want to try twice. That's one exit strategy. The second exit strategy is balance transfer to another 0% APR business credit card. However, it can't be with the same bank. So you can't transfer from the Inc. Unlimited to the Inc. Cash. It has to be from the Inc. Unlimited to typically American Express and Chase don't have balance transfers right now for 0%. They did before. But a great bank for balance transfers is US Bank. And this is exactly what I did. I built a relationship with them first, opened a business checking account, personal checking account, let my fund season for 6 months. I got the US Bank Business Platinum Card, 0% APR for 18 months.
Oh, wow.
18 months. And transferred this balance transfer 25K because that Amazon store failed. And I had 25K that I had to pay off. Fortunately, balance transferred it for 18 months. And I think I'm due like in September and I'm able to pay it off by that time. So that's
Wow.
a really nice safety net and an exit strategy that people don't talk about, right? Because they don't know which cards to get. So US Bank, they're very relationship based. Like Chase, they're very picky. So you want to build a relationship with them first before you're going to apply for that balance transfer card. So it's kind of like you're planning for the future if you need it just in case.
Sure.
Mhm.
Wow. Well, Jaina, we're past our time now. Thank you so much for sharing all of this amazing information. And you're just like a wealth of knowledge when it comes to this type of stuff. So thank you so much for being on this call and being willing to share all of your knowledge with everyone. It was a pleasure to get to speak with you. And am looking forward to speaking with all of you next week.
Thank you so much. Thanks, Christian.
Thanks, Jaina. Bye.